What happened behind Atlanta's jail walls didn't just send one young man to the ICU, it shook the entire city. King Harris, T.I.'s son, is fighting for his life, but was this just a fight gone wrong, or a planned attack meant to silence him? Cameras cut out. Machines tampered with. Masked figures spotted near his hospital room. This wasn't just a brawl, it feels like something much darker. A mother is holding her son's hand, praying he survives, while the internet turns his tragedy into memes. King Harris is in critical condition, and every second could decide his future. A viral clip has split the internet. Was King Harris ambushed in a setup, or was this the consequence of his own reckless choices? The truth about what happened inside that jail could change everything. Atlanta is on edge tonight. What began as a fight behind jail walls has now turned into a nightmare that feels more like a crime drama than real life. King Harris, the son of music icons T.I. and Tiny, is lying in the ICU, and doctors say his life hangs in the balance. The question everyone is asking is chilling. Was this a tragic brawl gone too far, or something far more deliberate? Whispers of organ failure have spread, nurses refuse to leave his side, and hashtags like #PrayForKing and #JusticeForHarris are flooding timelines. But the details make the story even darker. Reports suggest King's injuries don't match up with a regular fight. Instead, they point to something far more calculated, wounds that look like torture, not just punches. Then come the rumors: masked figures sneaking into his hospital room, machines tampered with, and cameras mysteriously cutting out. So, what's really happening here? Is King battling for his health or fighting against forces determined to silence him? For children of celebrities, the spotlight is rarely gentle. But for King Harris, that spotlight now feels like a magnifying glass, burning down on every move he makes. And with news that his condition has worsened, the Harris family is living through the most terrifying hours of their lives. To understand how it reached this point, we have to look back. King Harris, already a lightning rod for criticism online, was caught up in a jailhouse altercation. At first, it seemed like just another outburst from a young man known for his fiery temper and impulsive behavior. But insiders quickly began to whisper that this wasn't a heated argument gone wrong. It was a setup. One moment King was standing in the common area, the next he was surrounded, fists flying before he even had the chance to defend himself. The speed and precision of the attack left many convinced it wasn't random. Witnesses claimed it looked like the kind of ambush designed to send a message. For a young man carrying a famous last name, that possibility is as chilling as it is believable. King wasn't just another inmate, he was T.I. and Tiny's son. In an environment where reputation is currency, his identity alone made him a target. By the time guards stepped in, the damage was done. King had collapsed, bleeding, and barely conscious. On the surface, the injuries seemed like the outcome of a brutal fight. But doctors later revealed that what looked like cuts and bruises masked something much worse. Internal injuries had left him fighting for his life, and within hours he was transferred from the jail to the intensive care unit. That's when the nightmare began for the Harris family. T.I., a man who has built his entire public image on being unshakable, was seen pacing hospital hallways, muttering that this was the kind of pain no parent should ever feel. Tiny refused to leave her son's side. Friends close to the family revealed she hadn't eaten in days, her energy devoted only to holding King's hand and whispering prayers into his ear. Their daughter, Zanique, broke down online, begging fans to stop spreading cruel jokes and start praying for her brother. But while the family clung to hope, the internet showed little mercy. Instead of rallying around King, social media turned into a circus. Memes mocked him, gossip blogs twisted details, and trolls flooded timelines with hashtags calling his injuries karma. For every #PrayForKing post, there was another #King got what he deserved. It became less about his survival and more about the battle for public perception. The cruelty was hard to watch. Here was a young man clinging to life, and yet, the world treated his suffering like content. YouTubers staged skits of his last words. TikTok creators reenacted the jailhouse brawl. On Twitter, threads debated whether his injuries were deserved. It was a disturbing reminder of the culture we live in, where tragedy is entertainment and someone's worst moment is everyone else's viral moment. Meanwhile, new leaks made the situation even murkier. A shaky, grainy video from inside the jail began circulating online. It captured only seconds of the attack, enough to show King collapsing against the wall as chaos erupted around him before cutting out. That short clip divided the internet even further. Supporters argued it proved King was ambushed, while critics claimed it only confirmed his reckless behavior finally caught up with him. Then came the rumors of a longer, uncut video. Whispers spread that officials were sitting on footage that could reveal everything, either clearing King as an innocent victim or exposing him as an instigator. The possibility of that tape leaking became the hottest topic online. Some claimed to have already seen snippets on hidden forums. Others dismissed it as hype. Either way, anticipation grew, and the Harris family braced for a storm they couldn't control. Behind the scenes, doctors warned that the next 24 hours would be critical. Internal bleeding, organ failure, and the sheer trauma to his body made recovery uncertain. Every hour mattered. And yet, outside those hospital walls, speculation drowned out compassion. For some critics, King's downfall was inevitable. They pointed to his history, heated confrontations, reckless live streams, a habit of inviting drama into his life. To them, this wasn't tragedy, it was the consequence of arrogance. But supporters pushed back. They reminded the world that King is barely out of his teens, a young man still figuring out who he is while living under the crushing weight of fame. Unlike most, he never had the luxury of making mistakes in private. Every stumble, every fight, every word was magnified and judged by millions. That's the deeper truth of this story. King isn't just battling his injuries, he's battling the harsh spotlight of celebrity culture. For the Harris family, this is about more than recovery. It's about survival in a world where their son's pain has been turned into a brand, his suffering reduced to hashtags and memes. And still, the haunting question remains, what really happened inside that jail? Official reports describe it as a spontaneous brawl. But anonymous sources insist King was deliberately targeted, his famous last name painting a bullseye on his back. Others go further, hinting that the attack wasn't just about reputation, it was about silencing him before he revealed something bigger. As doctors monitor his fragile condition, the internet waits restlessly, refreshing feeds, bracing for the next leak. If the uncut video surfaces, it could either vindicate King as the victim of a setup or destroy what's left of his reputation. Either way, the fallout will be devastating. For now, King Harris remains in the ICU, fighting for his life. His family prays at his bedside. The world watches like spectators at a gladiator match. And the cultural question lingers like a shadow over it all. Do we see this as just another scandal to consume, or as the tragedy of a young man crushed under fame, violence, and a system that may have failed him from the start? By the time guards stepped in, the damage was already severe. King Harris was left crumpled on the ground, struggling to move, his body battered far beyond what anyone expected from a fight. What made the ordeal even worse wasn't just the attack itself, it was the internet's reaction that followed. Instead of sympathy, compassion, or even silence, King became the target of endless jokes. Memes flooded timelines, gossip blogs ran sensational headlines, and trolls treated his suffering like a comedy skit. His pain became entertainment for people who had no idea how serious things truly were. Doctors quickly realized that what looked like cuts and bruises on the outside hid something much more alarming. Scans revealed internal bleeding and damage that could not be ignored. His condition was critical, and within hours, he was rushed from the jail to the intensive care unit. For his family, the transition from hearing about a fight to watching their son fight for his life was devastating. For T.I., a man who built his reputation on resilience and strength, seeing his son strapped to machines, tubes, and monitors was shattering. This wasn't a problem he could fix with words, fame, or money. It was raw, uncontrollable, and terrifying. Tiny, his wife, has barely left the hospital since that night. Friends close to her revealed she spends nearly every hour at King's bedside, holding his hand, whispering prayers, and refusing to give up hope. It's the kind of maternal love that doesn't need an audience, quiet, steady, and unbreakable. The family's heartbreak only deepened as the noise online grew louder. Strangers who had never met King painted him as reckless and deserving of what happened. They dismissed his injuries as karma, ignoring that beneath the headlines and reputation is a 20-year-old young man with parents, siblings, and dreams of his own. His sister, Zanique, finally broke her silence, pleading with people online to stop treating the situation like a joke. She reminded the world that her brother wasn't a storyline, he was a human being in critical condition. Yet the internet rarely listens. Each update about King's health was drowned out by speculation, conspiracy theories, and harsh criticism. It revealed something uncomfortable about the culture we live in today. Tragedy no longer commands empathy, it becomes content. Instead of pausing to imagine the pain of a family, people rush to be first to post, first to joke, or first to profit off someone else's suffering. Inside the hospital room, though, the noise doesn't matter. What matters is whether King opens his eyes, whether his body responds, and whether he can pull through this battle. Doctors continue to monitor his fragile condition, warning that recovery will take time and may never fully erase the trauma. For the Harris family, each beep of the monitor carries both fear and hope. What began as a jailhouse altercation has now turned into a test of survival for King, for his family, and for the public's ability to see beyond gossip and remember the humanity behind the headlines. Meanwhile, the internet is split. Some argue this is the cost of King's reckless choices. Others believe there's a hidden hand behind the attack, jealous inmates, outside enemies, maybe even something bigger. Theories swirl, but the Harris family can only focus on the next 24 hours, which doctors say will decide King's fate. And then came the leaks. Audio clips from inside the jail, blurred video, even screenshots of supposed messages, all painting a picture that this wasn't random at all. Voices in the audio taunt and threaten King, suggesting the fight was staged, meant to humiliate or silence him. Theories have exploded. Was it about his last name, his father's fame, or something King might have known? Some say jealous inmates wanted clout. Others think rival groups outside wanted to send T.I. a warning. The darkest theory suggests King's outspoken nature online made him a target for enemies with something to hide. Through it all, the family has remained silent, but sources close to them say the belief is clear: this was no accident. As King lies in the hospital, the internet has turned cruel. Mocking memes, tasteless TikToks, and heartless comments continue to spread. For many, his suffering has become just another story for clicks. But for the Harris family, this is no story, it's a nightmare. T.I. has been described as restless, pacing hospital hallways, demanding answers, and refusing to accept vague explanations. Tiny hasn't left her son's side. And both of them, like the rest of the world, are waiting to see if King can survive the most critical fight of his life. For now, one question hangs heavy in the air: what really happened inside that jail? Witnesses say that at one point, T.I. couldn't hold back his tears. For a man who has built his life on being tough and unshakable, it was a rare and heartbreaking sight. Tiny, meanwhile, has been described as shattered yet unmovable. She refuses to leave King's side. She barely eats, spending her days holding his hand, whispering prayers into his ear, even though he hasn't responded. Their daughter, Zanique, turned to social media in a tearful plea, asking fans to stop spreading lies and simply pray for her brother's recovery. But the internet is split. Half is chasing conspiracies, and the other half is mocking King's downfall. And caught in the middle is a family hanging on to hope, waiting desperately for signs of improvement in the next 24 hours. Then comes the cliffhanger. Rumors swirl that a new video from inside the jail is about to surface. A video that allegedly shows the exact moment King was ambushed. If it's released, it could change everything. If it proves he was targeted, it would expose a setup bigger than anyone imagined. But if it shows King provoking the fight, the internet will tear him apart in ways his family may never recover from. That possible video has already become the hottest topic online. Some claim they've seen short clips hidden in the dark corners of the web. Others say it's fake hype, designed to stir chaos. Still, one thing is certain: the Harris family's nightmare isn't over. Officials haven't helped either. Jail representatives refuse to comment, saying there's an ongoing investigation. But their silence only fuels suspicion. Fans flood TikTok lives, Twitter threads, and Instagram comments demanding answers. Why not release the footage? What's being hidden? Every unanswered question builds the conspiracy higher. Meanwhile, doctors warn the family that King's condition remains unstable. Internal bleeding could worsen at any moment. Yes, he's shown slight responses, but nothing close to recovery. T.I. has been overheard pacing hospital halls, muttering, "If they wanted to break me, this is how you do it." But while the Harris family grieves, the internet shows no mercy. Memes multiply. Fake ICU clips circulate for clout. A YouTuber even staged a mock last words skit, racking up millions of views. It's cruel, but behind the jokes lies a darker thought. What if some of these clips aren't completely fake? What if real leaks from inside the hospital or jail are being twisted for views? And let's not forget, this isn't the first Harris scandal to play out in public. King's reckless live streams, family feuds, and viral confrontations have already made him a target of ridicule. But this time, the stakes aren't about reputation. This time, it's about life or death. Some whisper that rival groups in Atlanta's music scene may have wanted to send T.I. a message. Others point fingers at jail officials, hinting the attack was allowed to happen in exchange for bribes. Theories pile up, each one scarier than the last. Yet critics push a harsher view that King's fall was inevitable. They say his attitude, his constant fights, his arrogance online made this outcome unavoidable. To them, this wasn't tragedy. It was a ticking clock. But is that fair? Should a young man's mistakes ever equal a death sentence? That's the debate tearing the internet apart. And just as tensions reach their peak, blurry footage finally appears online. A 7-second clip. Grainy, shaky, but clear enough to show King surrounded by multiple inmates. It spreads like wildfire. The footage is grainy, the angles chaotic, but one thing is clear: violence. In just a few seconds, fists fly, shouts echo, and King Harris slams against the wall before the clip cuts out. That short glimpse is enough to light the internet on fire. Two sides form instantly. On one end, hashtags demand #justice for King. On the other, critics push #King got what he deserved. Supporters cry setup, while haters call it karma. In the middle, the Harris family is crumbling. Tiny breaks her silence with a heartbreaking post. "My baby is fighting for his life." This isn't entertainment. This is real. The message gathers millions of likes, but the comments section turns into a war zone, prayers mixed with mockery. T.I. follows with a shorter, sharper post. "Y'all think this is funny? Pray you never feel this pain." Still, the internet doesn't stop. Rumors spiral. Some say King has passed. Others swear he's awake and speaking. Every update contradicts the last, and the family refuses to confirm or deny any of it. The truth is simple. King remains in the ICU, locked in a fight for survival while the world treats it like a live show. But here's where we need to pause. Beyond the memes, the hashtags, and the noise lies a bigger question. What does this say about us? About a culture that turns suffering into viral content? Where tragedy becomes a punchline and a young man's life is reduced to clicks, shares, and debate threads. That might be the real scandal. Because whether King survives or not, one fact is already cemented: his story has been consumed. His pain turned into a product. His name turned into a hashtag. His family's heartbreak turned into headlines. And yet, the cliffhanger deepens. Whispers grow louder that the full uncut jail video, the one officials are hiding, may soon leak. If it does, it won't just shatter the Harris family. It will shake the culture that feeds on fame, power, and downfall. Because once that footage drops, there's no going back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing one of the darkest chapters in the Harris family's history. A young man is lying in a hospital bed, fighting for his life. His parents are shattered. The internet is divided. And the truth about what happened in that jail remains buried or waiting to erupt. So now the question falls on us. Who do you believe King Harris really is? A reckless troublemaker finally paying the price? Or a young man caught in a system too cruel and too powerful to fight? This story isn't over. If that video leaks, it could prove King was the victim of a brutal setup, or reveal he played a role in the very fire that consumed him. Either way, the fallout will be devastating. What do you think? Was King Harris the architect of his own downfall, or another victim of a broken system? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this isn't just gossip. It's a cultural wake-up call.